I thought it was such a nice day outside that I would just do this outside. Hey guys, what's up? Cell here. I just thought I'd come outside today to do this video. I'm sorry if you hear some birds and stuff in the background. It's the omnidirectional mics of the GS7. I'll try to clean it up as best as I can. I was actually out here today trying to shoot birds for a friend. She's really into birds, and I thought she'd enjoy that for seeing some of the birds we actually have here, but unfortunately the battery on this thing's dead, so I'm going to have to charge it and try another day. But I wanted to talk today about Computex. Computex this year was actually pretty good too. I thought it was awesome. There's like a lot of cool stuff. We'll talk about the Intel stuff here in a second, kind of my take on it. But all in all, I'm just going to talk about the things that come to mind for me. Some of the things I thought was kind of missing from Computex. So we got another year of RGB everything. Now, as you guys may or may not know, I'm not the biggest fan of really loud RGB. So when I'm at something like PDX, I try to take a lot of video of the RGB machines and just all the different crazy stuff along with it, because I know some of you guys are really into that. I personally am not that big into it. I don't even have an LED backlit keyboard. I actually like the keyboard better because it's PS2, it has no drivers. But I get it with some people, and Paul and Kyle's build, it had RGBs on it. I think I'm going to clean that up in a way that it's not overdone. What I was kind of looking at was putting two white LEDs in the case, having it front lit, and then just let the board be the RGB element in there. But we'll see how that works out. But the thing that I did like is, besides like apparently thermal take, everybody else has kind of toned it down a bit this year for the RGB LED everything, so that's nice. There's some ridiculous stuff there like chairs, and why would you want to charge a chair? That just, no. And in no way do I, like, who am I showing off to? It's on my back anyways, I can't see it. It's like the headphone thing. So the other thing that popped out to me was some of the laptops this year. I've not been this excited for laptops for a couple of years. The last one I really liked was the MSI Ghost, I think it was called. It had a Iris Pro graphics in it, and you can link it up to the discrete GPU, and that was the first year that we actually saw something like that. I thought that was actually a pretty cool idea. Unfortunately, apparently the laptop was not made that well and whatnot, and I thought the Iris Pro, they nailed it there for travel, because the stuff I would play, I would pretty much just need Iris Pro graphics when I'm on the road, and then when I come home I could just plug something in and that would be awesome. So some of the laptops that were cool this year was the Asus, I don't remember what they called it. I'll find a name for it and put it somewhere in here. It was a metal laptop that was like super thin, like, almost thinner than a phone, and it had this weird kind of mechanism, like when you'd open a lid, like a roller would come down and split the bottom, so there was like an air gap. And I thought that was actually really cool, and they had a i7 in there and a 1080, which I just thought was awesome for the form factor. Something I would have been interested in if it came out a little bit earlier. I want the power. And so the thing I looked at was Asus's other laptop, which I'll put the name in here. I don't remember these names because they're just like, G, blah, 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 whatever. So they had one that actually had a Ryzen 1700 8-core in it, and I was like, that's pretty cool. And some people are going to kind of go like, why would I need an 8-core? And I understand if you're using Adobe, I get that. But Vegas actually can use an 8-core, and I had it on Vegas, so it actually works out for me. Other than that, the laptops, I didn't really see much else. One thing that stuck out to me that I thought was actually kind of brilliant was Corsair's, I think it was K68 keyboard. They had water on it all the time, and it wasn't shorting out, so they had like drain holes and stuff for it. And what I heard was Corsair sells a lot of keyboards to like internet cafes and stuff over in Asia and whatnot, and apparently when somebody gets spilled on a board, they're out of a keyboard or whatnot, they just have to take them apart and clean it up. And me being kind of a klutz, I thought that was cool. I'm not a fan of a lot of driver integration into peripherals. I tend to just like plug and play stuff. However, I do give Logitech kind of a pass because their software is kind of light, doesn't do a whole lot of terrible things. They're like real invasive, and I don't think Corsair does that either, to my recollection. But Razer, yeah, anything that tells me I need to sign up for something and use a damn mouse, you can go kiss my butt. Okay, one thing I really need to knock some of the YouTubers on out this year that went out. there's some cool content. I thought Brian going out looking for used parts in Taipei was actually kind of cool. Uh, Gamers Nexus interviewing the guy from MSI about some of the stuff that was going on this year was actually pretty neat. But I will tell you guys, it felt like last year there was more personalized reviews between all the channels about what the products are, what are the companies trying to accomplish with them, and just like I didn't see George from Corsair. Maybe George left, I don't know. That's how I keep track of people, is through videos. But I didn't see George from Corsair in one video this year, as far as I can remember, unless there's something that hasn't come out yet. But he was nowhere to be found. So I don't know. It would have been nice to see and have George there, or somebody else from Corsair that they could ask and be like, in a full interview, like, why did you guys build such a big, huge case? Like, what? All right, last thing we're going to talk about today is the whole AMD X399 versus 299, and what the hell's going on with Intel, what the hell's going on with AMD, for that matter of fact. So, just some observations I've noticed just using an 8-core 16-thread processor in the past couple weeks. I have tons of things that it can't take advantage of. Fortunately, my editing software can take advantage of it. Some things like Handbrake that I use can take advantage of it. But for the most part, there's a lot of programs out there that just do not know how to operate on something like a 8-core 16-thread processor. Okay, let's talk about the Enthusiast platform, which I have a problem with Enthusiast platform because that kind of implies that, hey, if you really care about this stuff, you should probably own it. I almost see it more as a professional platform, and I wish that's what, Intel and AMD would kind of call this, but sure, that's called Enthusiast. So let's start with X299. Intel kind of finally released the details on X299, and some of it is stupid. So I think Kaby Lake X, let's start there. I feel like Kaby Lake X is a knee-jerk reaction to find an Achilles heel, essentially, to Ryzen. What's Ryzen not do very well? It doesn't do per-core IPC very well, and obviously when you clock up higher, you have a part that can clock up higher, you can raise that IPC. So they're putting it on a 2066 socket, feeding it more power, and saying you can overclock better. And I'm sure it'll have some tests that'll show it in 1080p gaming, running like 200 FPS as opposed to 180 because of the slightly higher clocks, and that's great and everything, I'm sure. But me as a gamer, there's a certain point where, like, I have a 144 hertz monitor. I don't need that, let alone its FreeSync. Most of the time, a lot of games I'm running like 100, 110, something like that. I feel like I'm in a pretty good sweet spot there already, even though I'm on a Ryzen CPU. So that doesn't really sell anything for me. It's just basically to say, hey, with this, you get this many numbers. And there's a lot of PC gamers out there that, sadly, that's how they buy and determine things. And I think that's kind of a bad fad to promote if you're a company. Shut up, Bird. So let's just say Kaby Lake X is stupid. If I was a system builder or a company like that, like say Origin or something like that, I just downright just would not support it. It's just a stupid idea. I don't know why they have quad cores on a platform like that, let alone you can't use a lot of slots. You only have 16 PCIe lanes. You only have dual channel memory is what I'm trying to get out here. I actually, like said last night, I'm like, we could make a lot of money for people to buy these. And I was like proposing that we make DIMMs for the other side that's empty on X299 that just no memory on it, just RGB. Just the voltage goes to it, just has RGB. And in that way it wouldn't look so weird, but I don't know. Somebody do that. It's a free idea. You'll make money. Alright, so let's talk about the other stuff. I'm not going to knock on their 8 cores and stuff like that have gone down in price. That's great. I like that. That's awesome. I'm kind of mad that they took away PCI lanes like a lot of other people are out there. However, I'm not really torn up about it. If that actually truly was something that they could do to bring the price down, good on them, because even with the 28 lanes, you're going to be rocking 2 GPUs just fine. Taking cache away, I think, sucks. L3 cache. They said that they're adding L2 cache, and that helps out a little bit. Maybe Intel's right on this, so I'll just give them the benefit of the doubt on that. And then let's just get it out. This new announced 18 core compared to Threadripper. Anytime you've got multiple cores like that, they're just they're really made to go into a server, and they're really made for VMs, virtual machines. Virtual machine is just what it sounds like. It's a machine and software, computer and software, and you can run many off of like large multi-core processors. And it's great for like servers and stuff like that need to run like 3 instances of different Linux machines in there for whatever reason. I feel like this is just to say, I have this many cores and I'm better than you in a weird way. And it's like, essentially what Intel and AMD are selling you is, as a consumer out there, is I kind of feel like they're selling you a really big dick that can never get hard because nothing can use it. So it's just like, I don't understand the really high core count processors, and I feel like a lot of these CPUs will live and die in these machines without ever getting used. Like by the time stuff might even start loading it down a little bit, they're going to be switching to a new machine anyways. So it's like, I don't understand the point of that. It doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, so let's finish up by talking about X399 and Ryzen. I imagine they haven't announced anything, so there's not much I can say. It's huge CPU. It's the size of a Kit Kat bar. It's ridiculously big. So anyways, let's talk about Threadripper. So they haven't announced anything. I imagine there's probably like a 10, 12, 14, and 18 core. I joked that they might name it, instead of like Ryzen 9, they'll probably call it like Ryzen 10 now, just because Intel's i9 series. And then let's see what else we got here. So information we have is that there will be a 16 core. I'm kind of curious if there'll be like multiple SKUs of like they did with like the Ryzen 7s and 5s and stuff, where it'll be like multiple 6 cores, multiple 8 cores, and some will have like XFR or something like that, and some won't. So I'm kind of curious on that. Now I'm going to speak to Threadripper a little bit based on my experience with the new Ryzen CPU that I'm using. Ryzen, at least I can say, has some issues. There's some memory compatibility issues, and I heard that's a lot to do with, like, I guess they use like Samsung dies when they were making the Ryzen CPUs, but they didn't really test anything else. So they're kind of like getting that all hammered out now. So when I first got my 1700X, the best I could do on the Corsair 3200 memory I had was about 2400, and it wasn't stable. It would crash all the time and cause issues. And even when I would go back to just default 2100, that memory would still cause issues and whatnot. Funny thing is I'd run it through memtest, and memtest would tell me it's okay, but that was the only thing I could hammer down to like some of the issues. There's some programs that still seem to have issues running on Ryzen CPUs. It's thankfully gotten a lot better. I'm on a beta version of the firmware now for the Gigabyte board that Paul and Kyle gave me. It's now up to 2900, still not hit 32 quite yet, but it's getting there, and the PC on this new firmware is far more stable than it's been in the past. Way more stable. I do things like stream and whatnot, and it would just crash on me consistently. Hopefully that stuff is ironed out by the time Threadripper comes out, because I kind of see that once again as, I would say, a professional platform, and people like in the sciences are going to be using it. People for data collection, I guess, are going to be using stuff like that. And for AMD to get a leg up in this, they don't have a generation to dawdle around here. They can't wait for Intel's next generation to kind of like bring them down a little bit this generation and go. They need to go now. They need to spend money. They need to get that crap stable, and they need to get it working. They need to spend some money to make some money, and I hate to say that, but this crap needs to be absolutely solid coming out, so people on a professional level that want to use it can look at it right next to Intel and be like, why am I going to pay that money? Oh yeah, Intel's more stable than Threadripper. That needs to not be the story of this thing, and they need to get that straightened out. Okay, so that's it for today. That's kind of what I wanted to say about Computex. It was overall it was a pretty good show. I liked a lot of the tech I saw. I wish I could remember it all. There's just so much cool stuff this year. I was like, that's really cool. That's really cool. Where other years I wasn't really load as much. There's always something cool there, but the amount of cool stuff there this year was like off the fucking chain. It was really cool. So yeah. Anyways, if you guys like the video, give me a vote up, thumbs up, whatever the service that this is showing up on for you does. And leave comments down below. I love hearing what you guys think. What was your favorite thing that you saw at Computex? What did you think about all this AMD Threadripper and Intel X299 stuff that doesn't make any sense? Yeah, like let me add. Like the other thing I didn't talk about either, by the way, before we go, was the stuff that you can boot off of NVMe on the Intel stuff, but you apparently have to pay money if you want RAID 1 or 5. Guys, hit me up down below what you think about that. That's just crazy to me, and I'll see you in the next video.